Welcome group number 2 for the reading, What Does the Person I Have in Mind Think About Me? If you chose this reading, then you chose the Guardian card of Beleth, which is the Knight of Cups. So we'll just take a moment to reaffirm that you chose this card. And if that's the case, let's get ready to dive into it. Pile number 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to shuffle the card the cards 3 times, and then I will lay out the card designations and announce them as I go so that you know what each one is going to represent. Alright, here we go, group number 2. You ready? So this card will represent the person you have in mind. This card will represent what they think about you. This card will represent what they think you think about them. Hey, why not, right? This card will represent you in actuality. This card will represent the benefits of a possible entanglement. This would represent the challenges of a possible entanglement. And this is the overall statement of having a possible entanglement with this individual. So, pile number 2, let's get a look in as to what we got going on. Alright, group number 2, your person overall is represented by the 3 of Pentacles. So what can I take from that? First, I would say group number 2 is this someone that you work with, or that you're working on a collaboration or a project of some sorts, because the 3 of Pentacles very much is about collaborating with other people. So if you have some sort of endeavor that you're working on, I'm wondering if this person is involved in it as well. What this also brings up is that there may be some of that energy overall where it's trying to maintain it as a working relationship and not mess with that in any way. We'll get into a little bit more by looking at the other cards, but yeah, overall your individual may be more focused on contributing to the project than considering this as of right now. But what they think of you, pile number 2, is the Fate or Wheel reversed. So, what can I say about that? I really get this sense that if the person does have interest in you, they don't think it's the right time at all. Maybe they're waiting for the project to end. If it is a termed project, maybe they don't want to bring that kind of stuff up when they have to have this working relationship, in case that makes things kind of complicated. So they don't seem to think that it's the right timing. Or the other thing that could come up with that is that no, basically that it's not the right time, or that it could also be, I won't lie, that they may not be entirely interested either. That it's not their turn, shall we say. Now, I'm gonna maybe focus more so on the fact that it's not the right time. We'll see as we go forward with this narrative. The next thing that we have as how they think you see them is the Memory, or the Moon card reversed. They may not entirely be able to see things clearly, and maybe projecting their own thoughts about themselves onto you as how you think of them. I know that's confusing. I'm so sorry, but this is really supposed to be, to me, they cannot really see clearly. There is some sort of illusion there. So either you're keeping up a good front with how you feel, or that they have some thoughts about themselves that may not be as entirely flattering, and that they're afraid of being found out or discovered and they're trying to keep up a front with you. There seems to be this kind of tension between like not timing and not um, total truth here. So maybe someone is suppressing feelings because they're in that sort of work project scenario collaboration with you and they don't want to jeopardize that over anything else. But it does kind of eats at the back of the brain. You are represented by the Two of Wands reversed, and I find that extremely interesting. Group number 2, and let me tell you why. Because what that suggests to me, even though this person is on your mind, you're not entirely sure about them either. So what I'm really getting from this is that there's like an intrigue and you're not sure if you want to pursue it either. And you're hoping that by coming to a reading like this, you might get some insight to suggest whether you should go forward with it or not, or how they think, etc., 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 to help you make up your mind. But really what I get from this is that you're just like, I don't even know if I want to go with that either. Interesting. Interesting. They're enough to be on your mind, but not enough to consider pursuing. And I wonder, group number 2, is it the same reasoning because you are working together, or is it something else? Let's look at cards, shall we? Don't mind my quirky personality. The benefits of an entanglement with this individual. We have the Four of Cups, which I find is really interesting because on one hand I get this sense, pile number 2, that it's like safe and the same old. It's something that you already know. Now at the same time, and particularly with this image, you can see that the person is being offered all the same thing and they're walking through a new door. So on the other hand, I'm very in this like one side or the other kind of mentality. Nothing is really being answered one way or the other. I'm getting two things. And so either it's safe and familiar and something that you want to experience as a benefit that way, or that you decide not to pursue it because it is the same old and you know where that story leads, and so it pushes you into a new doorway or a new direction. Interesting. The challenge that we have here, also interesting, is the Six of Swords. Now that card can talk about pathways getting easier, and so this is in its challenged position. That could mean that like it getting easier or clearer may be delayed, or that it may stay rocky, or that on one hand it could be so easy to get into it because it's the same old, and you may fall into the exact same patterns and habits that you used to and get into this sort of like comfort zone with an individual that you're replaying from other things, other habits, other beliefs. And that may not be in your best interest, really, because it's almost going on autopilot is what I'm getting from this. But again, the other thing too could be pile number 2, that it's just not favorable waters to endeavor going down this route. It could still be choppy. It could bring up a lot of issues with if you are working on a project together, etc. So food for thought. I can't seem to give you an answer one way or the other. Last card though, and camera troubles. And we're back. The last card that could represent the possibilities of an entanglement with the person that you have on your mind is the Tower. Joyous. So, several things that we can get from this pile number 2. One is that it could just be a big surprise to everyone. It could just still end up happening. You could both pursue it. You could both just be like, fuck it, take a chance. Let's just do it. But it can also bring a lot of upheaval, a lot of discord, a lot of unrest. Now, it's not always, the tower doesn't always need to be a negative thing. It can just be surprising, and it can bring up stuff that was buried below the surface. So it could bring a lot of benefit to your life by creating some much needed major life change by going through the experience. I'll give a little anecdote outside of the cards. It's just that sometimes we can learn lessons by going through the experience, and sometimes we can learn lessons by seeing that the experience is there and recognizing it and then not needing to go through it, and therefore possibly not needing that repetitious cycle to come up for us multiple times or over and over. So it's really kind of up to you, pile number 2. It could be good either way. I'm not saying that it would be a commitment or not. I'm not saying one way or the other. But I am saying that it would change you both. And most likely, based on my opinion and perspectives, it would be good even if it didn't last. And hey, if it did last and it was good, great. But yeah, I'm not so much getting the notion of like this is a long-term commitment thing kind of here. I think if you're feeling waffly on this, there is some intuition there that you may want to pay attention to for yourself. Let's talk now about the guardian of this particular reading, which is Beleth, the Knight of Cups. And beleth is causes all the love that may be, both for men and of women. And beleth, as the Knight of Cups, is normally this sort of like emotionally sensitive and open kind of thing. And with this reading, there seems to be some hesitancy on both sides that is being mirrored here. With beleth being the representative, there could be inklings of feelings for one another mirrored, but there is also that hesitancy. So it's just really unsure of whether to dive into it or not, and whether it's worth it or not. I could see for both sides being on the fence, being like, I'm intrigued and maybe it's not right, and I don't know, I have these like weird illusory ideas over here, and you're just like, I don't know what I want to manifest either. I don't know if it should be you or if I should wait for someone else. In both cases, pile number 2, I would really suggest, what do you feel? What do you feel deep down? If always to me is just like follow the intuition. If you want my 2 cents, and you don't have to take it, but I would say maybe this should just be a working relationship or collaborative or whatever it is, and not venture that pathway. But if you do make that decision, pile number 2, I would hope that you have come to a place where you have figured out as to why. Were you looking for something within someone else, or did you realize that maybe you, these are just examples by the way, maybe felt lonely and were seeking comfort, but it wasn't really about the person? Do you like the person, or do you like the idea of being with the person? Is there enough there for you to want to have this entanglement? Is there any sort of patterns that you might notice from previous stuff that this may be bringing up? Because there's some, 4 of Cups there, some sameness from the past. So these would just be questions that I put forward to you. Everyone's going to be unique and different in this scenario because there's probably going to be lots of people watching eventually. So yeah, food for thought, and sorry that I can't give it to you straight one way or the other. Pile number 2, that is your card reading for what this person thinks of you. Yeah, all the social media things to do. Appreciate if you partake in them. It's always very helpful. Love to hear if you have any other questions you want to ask for Timeless Tarot. always interested in hearing about them. I'm going to put on the screen now either playlists or videos that you can go watch of other readings should you be interested. And until next time, pile number 2, we'll see you later.